For now.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, May 25th, 2026. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes is 7 p.m. Warm welcome and greetings are extended to councillors, staff, delegations, and observers who will participate in this meeting regardless of whether they are physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. This time, I invite your decorum, as always, over the course of the coming meeting. You can see that all councillors are in their chairs in the council chamber in Listowel. Let's move to item 5 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. Members of council have full lives with engagement in the community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item at the council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and, in so doing, avoid direct involvement in the consideration or voting on the item. I invite any councillor with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have already so declared in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be submitted, if not already done, pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point in the meeting should such interest be recognized. Colleagues, do any of you wish to declare such an interest? I am not seeing expression of that. As chair of this meeting, I will manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference. In fact, I know at least one is. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the Conference Technologies text chat function. If difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise, and we have Colton working with us tonight to help troubleshoot those problems. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in the chambers silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for consideration to approve the agenda. It is as follows, that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Moved by Deputy Mayor Callum, seconded by Councillor Anstead. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And a manual recorded vote from Councillor Johnston, which brings us to the number that we need to have. That is carried. Thank you. We're now at item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant Council's recognition and/or action. Grouping them tends to expedite our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item or multiple items from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 32 items on our consent agenda tonight. It's a busy one, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Colleagues, anything to extract here or any corrections that you'd like seen made to the minutes? Councillor Rothwell.
Good evening, Mayor Todd, members of council, staff, and public. Item 7.2, the West End Development Report by our CAO. Thank you. Okay,
item 7.2, Councillor Andreessen.
Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg. I just wondered if we could look at 7.10, the Perth County report regarding Bill 98. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Anyone else with anything you'd like to extract for discussion? All right, as is our usual process, we'll look at the extracted items first, and I'll turn to Councillor Rothwell, who had the first say on this, so it's yours to speak to.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd and Council. I appreciate the report which CAO Snell has put together regarding the two options, working with our consultants, BEM Ross, for the West End development land. My question is this, in terms of the discussion points that staff have had, is what role is considered appropriate for this council on behalf of the community to look at development of the lands, some of these lands for affordable, attainable housing. And in particular, when we're looking at the apartment blocks that are outlined, as to whether or not the City of Stratford has been approached to a similar project in the City of Stratford regarding 2 apartment buildings on a block, and if we might be able to look at something like that in this area. Secondly, in terms of trying to address the issue of affordability, we know that lot sizes are one of the critical issues which the municipality has to try to reduce the part of the costs for acquiring housing, especially for first time or affordable housing. Have we considered the possibility of a land lease scenario similar to other properties here within North Perth, wherein property owners would own the building and lease the land, perhaps from the municipality, to try to reduce the carrying costs for acquisition of the property? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Good questions. I think we'll turn first to Sandy Little, our Deputy CAO, for first response. I noticed that Ms. McLean is in the audience in case we need to draw her in. Ms. Little, please.
Good evening, Council, and through the Mayor to Councillor Rothwell. Really great questions. So in terms of kind of an overarching overview of where things stand right now, we are very much in the preliminary stages of the West End development, but you raise a very valid point in terms of how we are going to engage both the community and, of course, Council. So as you know, and as the report states, we're moving to the statutory open house in June, which is kind of our kickoff. Those 2 concept plans are very initial, kind of our first attempts at including the required land uses as we see it right now. In terms of the residential land specifically, And we recognize the need for attainable and affordable housing in this community and across communities across the province. We have not confirmed how we will be going to kind of market with those lands in terms of how they will be developed, the specific types of uses. We would certainly like to engage this council as part of that process. So I know that we will be bringing forward a future report on the West End development, just with a little bit more concrete timing around how we see this process unfolding. We're working very closely with BM Ross. We have certainly reached out to some of our immediate partners with regards to their needs in terms of the institutional lands, and of course the dog park for one, and this council is very familiar with that use. So your comment is very much noted in terms of engaging this council. So no decisions have been made about what those residential lots will look like, the specific types of uses, ownership related to that. And then your comment with regards to alternate ownership arrangements, certainly we can take that comment away and we can certainly explore that further as part of the process. This is, as I stated, very much in its early stages. We don't anticipate clearing all the planning applications for a few years at least, and I think we're trying to be as optimistic as possible, but certainly we'll be engaging the community and this council as part of that overall process.
Thank you, Ms. Little. It's funny, as I was pondering what you were saying, I can remember very clearly a conversation I had with Councillor Richardson that was probably 7.5 years ago, talking about the possibilities of affordability on that land. So some things take a little while, don't they, my friend? We don't like that word glacial too much, but it does take a little time to get there. Thank you for the intent of the question and the response. Councillor Andreessen, you're up next.
Good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Perth County report regarding Bill 98, and it's building homes and improving transportation. In the report, it talked about additional constraints through Bill 98, which will affect many aspects of building new homes here in the region, and everything from rules, specifically around parkland as well. I know that Perth County Council had representatives as well as county staff have a delegation go to the province, go to Queen's Park. I just wondered if any of the conversation was around Bill 98, because I noticed that in the report, the comments were due by May the 14th, which is well past what we've received this report. So I just wondered if, anything's been sent or conversations at Queen's Park were about this. Thanks.
Yeah, we thank you for that question. I think I'm the one most capable in the room of answering that question, having been there. We attended a Perth County Day at Queen's Park. The mayors from pretty much all of the municipalities, excepting Perth South, were in attendance, along with the CAOs and a few other key staff. We did not specifically tackle planning issues, in part because the registry was open and the path for our contributions were as formalized by the province on that occasion. So at that time, the delegations, we did sit with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing for a half an hour or so. But that wasn't the priority issues that we were discussing with him, although we did discuss affordable and attainable housing with him. Frankly, I think there's a sense that the formal process was going to have to do and rely on the analysis done by the highly qualified planning team at Perth County. I remember reading that report, and I'll look to my county colleagues and thinking it was a very impressive summary of recent legislative and regulatory intent. And certainly many of us have some grave concerns about that intent that the province has expressed through its planned yet another bill related to housing and land use. But I'm not sure that there was any other path really than to contribute to the ERO as specified.
Just secondary to that, do you know if the county did send comments by the due date based on what they shared in this report? I agree the report was well done. And my hope is they at least sent those comments to the province.
They did indeed. Yeah. Any other last polls before we consider the resolution? All right, I have a resolution prepared for the consent agenda as follows. That consent items 7.1 to 7.32 be received for information in the minutes of the May 11th, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right. At this time, it's proposed that we move to agenda item number 8. Tonight, we have the opportunity to hear from 3 delegations from those with interest in our council's business or authority. I'll remind each delegation that in accordance with the council's procedural bylaw, a total time of 10 minutes of presentation is permitted, with a question period to follow, the duration of which is at the discretion of the mayor. A delegation is to present on the topic declared on the submitted request for delegation form, and deviations from the topic of the delegation of each delegation are not acceptable to the chair or to this council. Decorum is required. Further to my usual request that we maintain an atmosphere of respect and courtesy, I will remind those delegating that they should not use the names of those who have not consented to such use. Our first delegation tonight is item 8.1, is a remote one. It is from United Way Perth Huron, represented tonight by Will Wellington. He will present a summary of a recent SRPC report entitled Our Stories of the Housing Crisis. Welcome, Mr. Wellington.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to try sharing my screen. I presume it's visible in the council chamber. Can everyone see that?
We can see it.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Will Wellington. I work with United Way Perth Huron, specifically the Social Research and Planning Council, and I'm excited to be here with you today to share our new report, Our Stories of the Housing Crisis, Findings from the Cost of Housing Survey. So from January to April 2024, we conducted this survey, the Cost of Housing Survey, and we heard from 716 Perth Huron residents who had been affected by rising housing costs in various ways. We heard from all municipalities in the region. 70% of respondents were employed full-time across all major regional industries, and 74% were parents. Respondents to our survey reported lower incomes than the overall population, but all income groups were represented. We heard from lower income residents and higher income residents. And the income categories that we used in our survey suggest that almost half of respondents could not have afforded a market rate 1-bedroom unit at the time, and over 3/4 of respondents would have been unlikely to qualify for a single family home at the time. We asked respondents how they'd been affected, how they had adapted, and what they wanted to share with leaders. And the open-ended questions that we used let respondents share what they thought was important in their own words. So our report is structured around the major themes that we observed in all those comments. So first, we'll look at the themes around housing itself, then how housing costs rippled throughout people's lives, and finally, how respondents made sense of this crisis and wanted to move forward. So both homeowners and renters were hurt by high housing costs. Costs have risen dramatically in both the property market and the rental market, and both homeowners and renters have been affected. We heard from 31% of respondents saying that they had been affected by increasing or unaffordable mortgage payments, and that was primarily through hiked rates on existing mortgages. And dramatic increases like the ones that they reported can easily stretch a household budget to the breaking point and put people in painful situations like this North Perth respondent. When my mortgage comes due in the next year or so, my income will be at its lowest point in a very long time. My children could contribute, but how will they ever save for their own future? Meanwhile, 21% of respondents commented on the unaffordability of the rental market. Some respondents reported spending large parts of their income on rent. Some were facing unmanageable rent increases in their current unit. In many cases, renters in our sample concluded that while their current unit might be unaffordable, all of the units on the market would be worse. And the rise in market rents has been so extreme in this period that moving can often lead to both a leap in rent and a drop in unit quality. We saw that people get stuck or displaced as housing costs rise. So with available housing so unaffordable, 37% of respondents described their mobility being reduced in some way. Many were not only stuck, but stuck in housing that was inappropriate for them. As this North Perth comment describes, we can't afford better housing. We've gone 6 months without a stove. There's mold in our bathroom, and my boy's room has water damage. These respondents were forced to settle for housing that was too small, in poor condition, or both in some cases. And on the other hand, 16% of respondents reported having to move when they didn't want to. And 14% were sharing housing to save money, which often meant adult children living with parents. While some respondents expressed thankfulness for this option, cohabitation was generally described as a regrettable last resort and a sign of how bad things are. We heard that people cut both extras and essentials to afford housing. This was the #1 way respondents coped with increased housing costs, by spending less, and the vast majority of our sample reported this. 65% of respondents described cutting back on general spending, on extras, and on recreation. And some of those respondents described harsh and widespread cuts, including in some cases an almost total loss of social life. And we can hear that in this quote from North Perth: "I don't go anywhere now." These are significant sacrifices in themselves, but beyond that, 58% of respondents were cutting back on essential categories, with almost half reporting that they were spending less on food and groceries. Some of them even making comments indicating various levels of food insecurity, from cutting out types of food to eating less healthily to skipping meals and going hungry. So to afford housing, we heard that people are working more, but many are falling behind. 21% of respondents reported that they were trying to earn more, and that was primarily by working more through additional jobs, through overtime. And we heard from them that working more leaves less time for family and personal well-being, and some of them reported reaching their limits. Many respondents reported that whatever changes they had made were not enough to maintain their finances. So 34% of respondents reported an unstable or declining financial position. And these respondents were saving less, they were living paycheck to paycheck, and in some cases taking on debt. And that's seen in this North Perth quote: "Our mortgage has gone up by $1,000 per month. Mixed with grocery costs and gas prices, there is no money for savings. We have had to use savings and put more things on credit." High housing costs affect mental health and children. For at least 25% of respondents, we heard that high housing costs were worsening their mental well-being, causing them stress, fear, frustration, sadness, hopelessness. 27% of respondents with children reported their children being affected. As in this quote from North Perth: "We can no longer afford registration and sports equipment. We had to cancel our family vacation. Our kids will be heading to college in 4 years, and we aren't sure how we will afford it." These children were losing out on enriching activities and had less personal space in smaller units. And in some comments, parents described an additional stress from giving their disappointed children less than they wish they could give them. We heard that people see leaders as responsible for an unfair crisis. And, in these open-ended responses, many respondents made comments suggesting explanations for the housing crisis. And we heard that similar numbers of respondents see the public sector as responsible and the private sector: 22% for public sector, 17% for private sector. So these respondents saw this crisis as enabled by both neglectful public officials and selfish business people. As in this quote from North Perth: "Is there a point? They don't seem to notice or care if people struggle." 34% of respondents highlighted the many ways in which current housing costs seem unfair. These respondents noted, for instance, that they work hard at good jobs, making good money, sometimes more than full time, sometimes with significant education, and yet are struggling to afford, quote unquote, ridiculous market rates for even undesirable units. We heard very strongly that respondents were eager for this crisis to end, with 61% commenting on the need for change and possible solutions. They emphasized the urgency and unsustainability of the situation and the consequences of inaction, and some said bluntly that more must be done. 46% of respondents called for various measures to make housing more affordable. And the biggest theme there, 26% calling for more housing, and most of those respondents stressing the need for affordable housing in particular, as in this quote from North Perth: "The waitlist for housing is ridiculously long. We need far more subsidized housing in North Perth. This is an emergency. Lives are at stake. Stop stalling and get this done." While respondents often expressed a lack of faith in decision makers, they also expressed a yearning for change and for leaders who deliver it. That leads us to our recommendation for this report, which is to build the new community housing Perth Huron needs. This support that we heard for affordable housing reinforces a growing sense that the community housing stock should be expanded. So we call on individuals, organizations, and especially governments to set ambitious regional targets for new community housing and make serious investments to achieve them. Because, in the words of this North Perth respondent, affordable housing for all is a necessity. So thank you for listening. It's an honor to represent the stories of Perth Huron residents with this report. We were very gratified to hear the gratitude of some survey participants, as in these comments. And so we thank you for the opportunity to share those stories with you today. And finally, this is my contact information if anyone wants to ask any follow-up questions. And if you're interested in hearing more from Social Research and Planning Council, we have a blog called United Insights that you can subscribe to.
Thank you, Mr. Wellington. Colleagues, do you have any questions for Mr. Wellington at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Sobering report, certainly.
Thank you.
On the circumstances in our community. All right, our second delegation tonight is item 8.2 is from the Ontario Agri-Food Discovery Centre, represented tonight by Board Chair Steve Dolson. Welcome, Mr. Dolson.
Now I'm on. Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor Kiesenberg. It is an honor to be able to represent the Ontario Agri-Food Discovery Centre here this evening as their chair and give you a bit of an update as to where the program is at. How have we been doing since 2020 when the Council of the Day first heard the feasibility study for Canada's first Ag Science Centre? And a lot has happened since then. It is definitely going to be a hub of learning about agricultural science and the food industry, focused on modern agriculture. It's not a museum. It's really got a modern focus to it. And we're looking at a location right here in North Perth that will be filled with fun, interactive exhibits to engage young and old people alike to learn more about our very fascinating industry that is so dynamic and employs 1 in 9 Canadians. Now, this happens to be a slide of our current board of directors. A few of you had the opportunity to join us at our AGM the end of March. And at that time, we had one new director come on board, and that was Susan Murray. Susan comes to us from Guelph. And in the last 12 months, we've been attracting people from outside of Perth County that are getting excited about the program and want to be part of it. Susan worked for the Ministry of Agriculture and Food out of Guelph for the last number of years and is excited to join us. There are more than 12 people in this picture. There's actually 2 additional individuals that are here because of you guys. The municipality of North Perth has supported us by the fact that you have an agricultural specialist in Matt Cardiff, and Matt is a conduit between our board, he and you guys. He has been coming to our regular board meetings and also sits on our business development committee to keep that link strong. The other person, he's back in the back right corner behind Elizabeth Johnson in that picture. To the left in the back row is Jessica Dietner. Jessica was hired in 2024 as a part-time administrator for us. We are a total volunteer group. This is a grassroots-led organization, and we're fortunate to have her there because of your support since 24 for that admin and development area that we're doing. If we move along, agriculture is what unites us all through the food we grow and the food we eat. But never in the point of history in Canada have consumers been further removed from the practices and realities of modern agriculture. And that is what we hope to address. The Discovery Centre is very much that. We want to have people discover the many attributes of our industry. Having a centre which has an area for the young people, which was one of the features in 2020, that we were looking for something for young people to do throughout the year, 24 months or 12 months of the year. When playgrounds are closed, there's going to be an activity center within the Discovery Center focused at the young people. The exhibits I talked about earlier are focused at modern agriculture and will be constantly changing because our industry moves so fast. We also want it to be an event center and attract people in the ag and food industry to host activities here, both in the center and on the grounds. And with all likelihood, if we can have the greenhouse that is being proposed on the center, that would be working with the high school co-op type program for working with the education system. As you are probably well aware, thanks to your support and designating 10 acres of service land on the west end beside the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex, this would be the location by Binning Street and Road 165. We are quite happy to have that location. It is definitely made it possible for us to open doors beyond North Perth, in that people realize this is not a pipe dream. We're going to do something. We're going to make a center to be proud of and to attract people from far and wide to North Perth. So yes, as I said earlier, a place for regional pride and agricultural pride. We're looking at this being a very unique center in the fact that it's going to raise the profile of agriculture. As I've mentioned earlier, 1 in 9 Canadians are involved in the agri-food industry. It's something most people don't realize. And in fact, in our community, it's much higher than 1 in 9. As we go throughout southwestern Ontario, I'd be guessing, so I can't state the number, but it is huge. And we want to make young people aware of all those job opportunities that are in this exciting industry. And it's no longer, it starts at the farm. No, there's so many industries in the service and supply industry that we as farmers count on day to day. That's a big part of our costs of production are going out to those people in those industries whose jobs are dependent on the farmers doing well. So going on, that was, I guess this slide, I jumped into it. 10 minutes isn't very much to talk about this whole Discovery Center. I like to have half an hour, but I know you have a busy schedule. So we'll move as quickly as we can into what have we been doing lately. And this is kind of an exciting part of the story, is last fall we wanted to basically find an architect firm to design the center for us. So we started off, I'll have to back up just really quickly. I've got 2 minutes. Okay, and I'm going to just tell you, we had a busload of people here. We showed them the site and we sent them home. And about 3 weeks later, we had 41 proposals submitted by architect firms from coast to coast, right across Canada, that were wanting to develop the center for us. We ended up choosing Moriyama Teshima, and this would be, if I don't know if it will run, this was to be the video. And it's not likely going to run. Or not? No? Okay, sorry. It is online. Many of you have seen it in the presentation before, and I urge you to go forward and do that as well. So none of this would have happened had municipality of North Perth not taken the lead in 2020. And as I said before, the 10 acres of land that you have committed to the project is instrumental to other people taking us seriously. And that's the other people to this date. The Ag Adaptation Council and the Gailey Foods Foundation funded the concept drawings that were developed by Moriyama Tashima architects out of Toronto. And in January, Perth County Council came to the table and supported us for the further development costs. So we have received another 150 there. Another 50 of another donor has been earmarked to come forward. And we have currently submitted funding requests with the Rural Ontario Development Program for that would be another 150,000 that we're applying for. That's where we're at. We're about to do, in this slide, experience planning. RFP is going to be put out to tender this summer, and we would like to have that planning done by November. And by March, or in December, we would be getting a person or business fundraising development firm to do the feasibility study on how much money can we raise and what would be the strategy going forward, so that this time next year we would be able to start the whole capital campaign. Okay, with that, Mr. Mayor, I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dolson. Good timing, indeed. Colleagues, questions? Anyone have anything they want to know? Councillor Andreessen.
Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, thank you for your presentation, Steve. Very exciting project. Are you getting good response from agricultural corporations to support this project in terms of fundraising?
Yeah, at this stage, we're getting responses. I've been very busy answering ever since the AGM. It's been a daily job for me. Last week, we were with the Minister of Ag federally's office, had a meeting with them. The Green Party leader, he came out to check us out on Tuesday. Next, in June, we will be meeting with actually one of the developers for North Perth that reached out to us as well. And it's growing every day from that standpoint. I can't tell you we've got millions of dollars at the moment, but we are excited by the response since these the concept drawings have been released the end of March. Yep.
Okay, one more question, Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, through you. Thanks so much, Steve, for your presentation and for the work of your committee and all the directors, and certainly a number of members of council did attend the release of the architectural drawings, and fascinated with those concepts. They truly listened to the needs, I think, that were expressed to them. And we wish you all the best in this journey towards this multi-million-dollar program, which will open the eyes not just here in southwestern Ontario, but from coast to coast, because this is the first and only center of its kind in Canada. So when you set the bar high, you really do. And the striving that you and the committee and all those in support, I'm glad that this council and previous council took the initiative. It's done, and we're staff and council, I think, are still walking side by side with you. So thanks very much.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity. Kudos to North Perth. You really are going to be excited by what we're going to create here. It's going to put North Perth on the map from coast to coast. I already know when people come to our area, they're just amazed by our agriculture. But now we can have urbanites as well come and learn more about our industry. We will be their connection to the farm. We do hope to have tours go out to actual farming operations from the center. There won't be livestock on the location, not on a regular basis. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity.
Urbanites was a very nice word you used. I can think of others that have been thrown my way over the years. Thank you, Mr. Dolson. I am retiring this fall as mayor, but I hope that you will invite me to the opening when that occasion comes, because I'll look very much forward to being in the company of great people.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, let's move to our third delegation. As item 8.3, council will receive a delegation from Andrew Behrens, representing himself and Wallace Minor Soccer, who wishes to speak to a report found on tonight's agenda as item 9.1.1, pertaining to the Harold Good Municipal Drain. Welcome, Mr. Behrens.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of North Perth Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Harold Good Drain as it relates to the Wallace Optimus Park. My name is Andrew Behrens, a resident and business owner in Kurtzville of North Perth. I played many soccer games at this park, and I fished my fair share of soccer balls from this very open ditch. I was a coach and a past president of Wallace Minor Soccer for many years, and now one of my sons has started his soccer career at this very park. The people that I speak on behalf of today, we appreciate the investment of the new playground and concrete pavilion. However, disappointed that users of the park were not given an opportunity to work with North Perth for a preferred outcome. 1 baseball diamond and 5 municipal soccer pitches have been taken out of operation for the start of the 2026 season with delays to the project. Currently, only 2 original municipal soccer pitches are operational at Spin Rate and Kinsman, and currently 2 temporary fields have been created because of the delays at Spin Rate and in Kurtzville. With the 2026 FIFA World Cup Soccer featuring all ethnicities occurring in North America, with games being played in Canada, this will inspire future players here in North Perth. Here in Perth United, from Between the Lines Sports Campus, represents over 150 rep soccer families requiring premium facilities, including plenty of North Perth residents, but also plenty of families who travel a significant distance to pursue competitive soccer development. Wallace Minor Soccer represents over 50 local league soccer families, representing 100 youth from 4 to 16 years of age. This is a very affordable option for families for sport, as well as keeping their youth active. Our hockey and baseball have premium facilities within North Perth. I request council to take a long-term planning approach to invest in a first-rate athletic park at this very Wallace Optimus Park. Some history that I found from the Wallace Township Magnified Memories book. The first development of the Wallace Optimus Park started in 1983 with the purchase of 11 acres of land from Harvey Krotz. With the official opening 40 years ago next month in June of 1986. I do believe this did become a memorial park after the passing of James Krotz, the son of Harvey Krotz. Tonight, I am requesting council to consider option 2 to close in the Harold Good Drain through the park. This will enhance the Optimus Park's development, increase capacity, safety, including West Nile and infectious tick, no longer an open waterway with slippery stones, increased accessibility, parking, efficiency of maintenance, aesthetics. No longer needing investment in, increased liability, weed control, dredging, especially with the stones on the bank. Thank you. Fence maintenance, and the risk of further ditch erosion from the increased water flow from the new Northeast Development Project. We believe option 3, the chain link fence, will not promote development of the park for long term. For young children, a fence is a challenge as they see climbing walls. Baseballs and soccer balls will still find the drain, and children will still jump the fence to retrieve valued ball. As one of the users of the park, Wallace Minor Soccer would welcome the opportunity to work with the North Perth Recreation to develop the Optimus Park with the project and for the future. I thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, and members of North Perth Council for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Behrens. Colleagues, questions or comments? Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Hi, Andrew. I reached out to your wife earlier today because I wasn't able to find a contact for you, but I had one for her. So I thought perhaps she might be able to share my thoughts with you. We have a recreational advisory committee that is volunteer-based in this community, and one of the people that sits on that committee just happens to work in Parks and Rec in Guelph. And at a recent meeting, when we were discussing this very issue, she brought up the idea of using post and rail fencing instead of chain link fencing, which is similarly cost-effective, looks nicer, compliant, and also less difficult to maneuver around should someone need to retrieve a ball in that culvert. And I was hoping to hear your thoughts on that, and that's why I tried to give you a heads up about it today. Thanks.
Through you, Mayor, response to Councillor Blazek. I did get your message. A fence in this scenario, we wonder if a fence of any type is putting a Band-Aid on the overall purpose of what we're asking for. There's definitely lots of aesthetically better looking fences, but I still believe that the issues still remain the same. Especially with maintenance down the road, 10, 15 years when they go to redredge this again. Is that fence in the way? Do the trees, with the growth of the trees along the banks as they get bigger and the fence is there, does that become a hindrance to further work that needs to be done down the road?
Okay, one other? Yep, Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg, and thank you, Andrew. My own kids grew up in the program, and we've used the facilities for many years, so very familiar with the property and its challenges. I'm gonna offer an idea that isn't in one of the options, and it's a long-term option. If we were to invest in your option, which was option 3, that's to cover, right, the cover in the culvert completely. I understand the cost of that will be $800,000 to $1 million to do that. What about thinking about this even longer term? And what about the option of a new park, a different park on different land that would service Wallace residents? And Wallace is growing. We've got new development happening at the end of Walton Street, which will be all Wallace residents as well. It might be a more economical project, but also service as a park better. But it would, again, it'd be a much more longer term project to, look at. I wonder what your thoughts might be.
Through you, Mayor, to respond to Councillor Andreessen. I think we can all stand here today and we know the ditch right through the heart of the soccer park is not ideal. I don't think that the users of the soccer facilities would have any objection to a new facility. I think where the Wallace Optimus Park is now, especially with the golf course backing onto it, it definitely gives you a little more athletic-y feel. It's not surrounded by buildings and housing and commercial, industrial. Like I said earlier, I played for many years, and I've played in Stratford and Kitchener and Guelph, and some of those facilities are definitely in the heart of those areas. Out here, I think we do have a benefit with the open space. I mean, sure, over time, it's development's going to surround it, but for the time being, it's a great park. It's nice on weekends, Sunday afternoon games, and you don't have to get right into the heart of town. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thanks. Maybe you can answer one for me. How much capacity has been lost to the Wallace Minor Soccer organization in these unfortunate circumstances that have arisen?
Through you, Mayor, to answer your question. So currently, the park is closed. The season would typically start the beginning of May, maybe towards the end of April. Obviously, weather this year hasn't helped that. 5 soccer pitches are out of commission. 1 is a larger field. 4 of them would be for younger youth. So those, as far as Wallace Minor Soccer, it maybe hasn't hindered it as much as the Here in Perth United, the rep program that is being offered locally as well. I know they've been looking for fields and have had trouble finding space, especially with late notification of the delays with the project.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else before I let Councillor Blazek have a second swing at this? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kaysberg. I was actually going to add on to Andrew's response to that, if you would like that information. Typically, that facility also hosts the year-end soccer tournament, bringing in kids from Minto, Drayton, Listowel, Wallace, and surrounding areas. And so there is quite a substantial deficit, I guess, to not just Wallace Minor Soccer, but other facilities as well.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Behrens. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda. Let's consider an item then from the Facilities Department as item 9.1. In item 9.1.1, Council is provided with an update from staff about the project intended to improve the Harold Good Municipal Drain. But this has had some unanticipated issues given drain profile and how the same intersects with safety and a range of uses in the Wallace Optimist Park. And of course, we're going to hear more about this weather circumstance too. It looks like Mr. Newell is standing in the dock, so we'll invite Mr. Newell, who's our Director of Facilities, to bring us up to speed on the staff thinking here, and you can call others if you need to do so. Mr. Newell.
Great, thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg and members of council and public staff. I'm just presenting a report just further to what was presented in the delegation. To give you some background, back in March of 2023, there was a report came forward through the North Perth Drainage Superintendent, and at that time, council approved amendments to the Harold Good Drain under the Section 78 of the Drainage Act. At the time, the appointed engineer, GEI Consultants, provided a new drainage report that was adopted by bylaw in bylaw number 2025, or 95, 2025, my apologies. The work was awarded in November 2025 to Nichols Excavating as recommended by GEI Consultants. The work was to be completed, as mentioned, in March of this year, March 15th, but due to the harsh winter and heavy snow accumulation and then followed by a wet spring, work was interrupted and delayed. The existing ditch as part of the work was to be deepened to allow for the required infrastructure that's coming from the northeast. Work continued through into May of 2026, and facility staff postponed the start of the soccer and baseball seasons for teams looking for the space. We have created 2 additional fields, but it does have an impact on the sports, specifically soccer, where teams are having to share smaller facilities and plan road games versus home games. With the drain now cleared and reprofiled, facility staff identified potential hazards to the drain. Due to the slope, the increased depth, and the installation of river rocks as it relates to physical proximity to park play surfaces and structures. We've invested in a playground facility there for families to use as one sibling plays sports, the other one can use the playground. We've made the pavilion accessible. So we've made some improvements in that location, and we're seeing that it is attracting more people to it. Concern is that some of our play structures are right adjacent to that ditch, and it wouldn't take much to cause a problem for those that are playing in that area. You'll see some pictures just further to what Mr. Behrens presented, just some pictures as well on the drain showing the slope and the river rock and proximity to the sport surfaces. The park is closed, and it will be open once repairs to the play surfaces and other amenity areas have been looked after. We've communicated to user groups that the start of the season will be delayed, but we don't have a date on that now, as we're still waiting for grass to grow on some of the playing surfaces. So there is 3 options that we've kind of heard about over the last 20 minutes or so. The first option is to leave the drain open as originally planned once construction is complete. Construction is complete at this point, other than some rehabilitation work on the play surfaces. This option would have no additional cost. Option 2, which is to install a pipe the length of the drain and enclose the drain with soil. This option would eliminate the hazards of the open drain as well as other benefits, but could cost more than $750,000 and further delay the park being operational this season. This option would be inconsistent as well with the drain, which would remain open on the adjacent properties to the park. Option 3 is to install temporary snow fence on both sides of the drain, add warning signs, and schedule the installation of a 4-foot-high chain link fence following the end of the season. Ball diamond netting could also help reduce the number of lost balls. Plant material and cedars could be planted to enhance the aesthetics of the area. This option would cost approximately $51,000 for the fencing, in addition to the ball diamond netting, and the plant materials would have additional costs. As such, this is the preferred option. However, we do realize that it does cause concerns when people are retrieving balls that have left the play surfaces, and that it would still entice people to get into the ditch, which would be a cause for concern. The financial implications are depending on which option. So option 1 is there's no cost. Option 2, approximately $750,000, or option 3, which is approximately $51,000 plus some additional funding. With that, if there's any questions, I'd certainly be able to attempt to answer them. And we've got some people here, Matt Ash and Scott Richardson, that can help maybe with some drainage-related questions too.
All right, thank you, Mr. Newell. I have one fundamental question that I think is a piece of fact that we need. If council were to elect the most expensive option, which is to sort of bury the drain, so to speak, and to put new pipe in. The timeline would not see that done this season, right? It would be next year before we would see something actually implemented at the earliest, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we understood the timeline here. Ms. Little, you have a comment to make on this?
Yes, just further to that, Mayor, the one thing that I did want to point out is if council chose to move forward with that option, it would have to be sent to the budget process in 2027. And given the magnitude of the estimated cost of that option, it would displace other projects and initiatives that the municipality would consider undertaking as part of that budget process.
Or prompt an increase in taxes. Indeed. All right, Deputy Mayor Kellum, I saw your hand.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Have we looked into any grant options?
At this point, no, sorry, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. No, we haven't looked at grant opportunities just because of the nature, the snow and rain have just basically stopped. And we had just finished basically saying, okay, we have a problem here we need to address. So we haven't had an opportunity to look at grant opportunities at this point.
Okay, Councillor Blazek.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kissenberg. While we are looking into grant opportunities and maybe seeing this as a solution that is not for the immediate future, I'm wondering if we can also try and work with community groups to help try and raise some funds for Wallace Upland Park.
Sorry, you tailed off there a little bit. I was having a hard
Sorry,
time hearing you.
community groups to help raise some funds for Wallace Optimist Park.
Okay, so suggestion that some fundraising be done, perhaps to support the augmented option. Mr. Newell?
No, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we're very well supported by community groups in North Perth that will jump in and lend a hand whenever possible. So that is a good option.
To me, it strikes me that the problem, like there's an immediate problem, and then there's what do we do with the future? And it strikes me that if we're going to deal with the immediate problem, and to Councillor Blazek's additional information earlier, you know, there are other groups that are using this park in the later summer and I assume into the September even, that we probably need to do something this year with regards to the park. And then something more visionary perhaps can be unfolded in the future. Does that seem like the way you're looking at this point?
Yeah, I think safety has to be a priority. And so at the bare minimum, we need to get out there with some snow fencing and block it off. And then as soon as the grass is ready to go on the play surfaces, which again is a safety concern, we'd be able to do that fairly quickly to get the snow fence up. Now, again, that would be another purchase that we have to make, but we do have some snow fence in our stock of material.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thanks for the report, Jeff, and thanks for the delegation, Andrew. This might be a question for Scott. If we were to close this drain within the park, we would have to close upstream as well. And is that included in the 750? And are we kind of guessing 750 conservatively? Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Todd. Council Nordum, the number that we given, it was to go all the way up through the golf course. They'd obviously have to be on board with that. I don't know with the course if that hazard is in play, like they need to have it open. But yeah, and then it's, where does the money come from, right, for that? So, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Anstead.
Thanks, Mayor Kasenberg, through you. And Scott, this is probably for you. Sorry, Jeff, thanks for your report. I should have said that first. And just looking at this, just picking up on what Councillor Nordum said, filling in this drain, or especially by the park, this may not even work. Is that a fair statement? Because we have all the other things that are have to go in play as well, right?
Yeah, through you again, Mayor Todd. No, this is, it's feasible. Definitely you could close it in. Like Mr. Barron's alluded to, future maintenance on the drain with the rocks and whatnot that are in place, it's not going to be very fun to do, right? The rock, however, had to be installed there because of the unfavorable soil conditions. We ran into a lot of sand in through that area. So, yeah, pipe definitely could work. It's just, it's a financial commitment.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Thank you, Jeff, for the report. And this will probably be a question through to Scott as well. But when the drain was designed, the upgrade and so on, when it was designed, was it even considered for the possibility of enclosure? Was that even an option? And if so, who would have paid for that? Would have just been assessed specifically to the municipality in particular, as well as adjacent areas that would be enclosed, or would that have gone through the whole municipal drain?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, I'm going to get Scott.
He chooses the prettier face.
Yeah, like we never considered at the start because we knew it would have been a considerable cost. And then again, who's going to pay for that? The deepening and the widening of the drain itself, that was assessed to Enbridge, the gas company, and as well as to the upstream lands. So the developments in that northeast plan, as well as I believe PK Homes. So yeah, that was, yeah, the cost, it would have to come from probably the general funds.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Johnston, you looked like you had a question,
Yeah,
but you didn't wave at me,
I'm
so.
not sure if it's a question, a comment. Closing in the drain, I think, is a massive project, especially after this been built the way it is. And to close it in upstream, I think, Scott, we're 2 years till you could do it, because you're gonna start all over with a new report. Correct. And then we gotta figure out the size of it, and then you gotta figure out size plus, to make sure it's big enough.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a massive project, as much as I think, it would definitely improve the park unbelievably.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, in my opinion, Leanne's onto something better. That my kids played there, and I remember having to stop soccer games to get balls from across the road. So you've actually got a really nice soccer pitch with a ditch on one side and a road on the other. So it's not really our best, as much as it's out in the country and it's a great layout there, it is not in a great spot. And I think Leanne's onto something that maybe we should be looking somewhere else to have a safer spot. That is, it may be surrounded by houses, but it is not surrounded by an open ditch and a road. So I think, for me, in the short term, I think we need to get that snow fence up ASAP, especially even just for the playground area, so that kids can play it safe, because everybody knows how quick toddlers can be if they get off a piece of playing equipment, and they could be in the bottom of that ditch in 4 seconds. And it is fairly steep in spots there and unforgiving. So I think the snow fence has to be put up starting tomorrow morning type thing. But I think the chain link fence in the short term, until we can come up with a long-term solution, is the best way to go, because I see the closing in the ditch, $750. I think by the time we get to it in 2 years, it's gonna be $1 million to $1 million plus. So I see that as too slow of a solution, that the park would be closed for a couple of years. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else wanting to comment before, Ms. Little?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Johnston. So it's certainly an option to consider in terms of the long-term needs of the residents in this area. One thing that I can mention as well is that we do have the Parks and Rec Master Plan that's ongoing right now. So the process might align. The one thing I do want to caution council about is that often parkland and planning for new parks takes several years. And so some of the developments you're seeing right now, The parks have already been dedicated in terms of the parkland dedication. The municipality is working on a brand new parkland dedication bylaw. As you can appreciate, our existing parkland dedication bylaw is a little outdated. So staff is working on one. We're hoping to bring it forward for approval to this council. But we do have the Parks and Rec Master Plan, which could potentially consider what the needs are in that area, as well as potentially looking at some other options, more in the medium and long term. So just a few things for council's consideration as well.
We haven't heard from Councillor Duncan yet, so he's next.
Like some of the other councils have alluded to, I think we need to come up with a short-term solution for fencing right away as soon as possible. But I'd like staff to take a look at some of the West End property as maybe future soccer pitch and parkland to help replace this. And I think the possibility of moving this is a better option than burying the drain financially at this point.
Thank you. Are you going to add to this, Councillor Andreessen?
I'm just wondering, in terms of long-term and short-term, do we, from a long-term perspective, defer the long-term decision once we have more information from Parks and Rec, once we have more information about that master plan? And from a budget perspective, we really can't make that decision at this time, knowing that we don't have $1 million ready to spend. So I think it would need to be deferred, especially at this time.
I think it would be prudent for us to act conservatively on the safety matters that are at hand so that we can get something up and running for the youth in our community this summer, and try to alleviate the logjam that apparently exists. But I agree with the premise you've made, and I think more importantly, I agree with the premise that Ms. Little made, which is the Parks and Rec facilities master plan will come forward. And I think one of the lessons perhaps for staff tonight is to take this to our consultants and say, a new option has surfaced at council. There was a certain amount of interest and it needs to be considered in the context of that plan. Is that okay with you?
Yes, thank you. I think that would address the long-term concern at this time and
Okay.
the need for space for that.
I'll take two more. Councillor Rothwell, then Councillor Johnston.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. And again, going back to our delegation as well, all four of our kids played at this park over the years and coached and so on. We were from Alma Minor Soccer, and we had a great relationship with Alma Township Public School. And if Wallace Soccer would be interested in working with immediate solution, which I see that we're talking about, it's really the larger field, which is and the older youth that have stronger legs and the ability to kick balls well over the fence on regular occurrences. And if Wallace Soccer would be willing to have conversation, and I realize that it's no longer a public school, but the Old Colony School, they have a very large field, similar in size to Elma, perhaps smaller, and it could very well be a short-term solution to a longer-term possibility into the future. But I believe if the soccer people could have a conversation about the possibility of moving at least the larger field over to that location and still utilizing the smaller fields, that may very well buy us some time. Certainly agree with all the other comments for fencing immediately, temporary, but I think if we're trying to get solutions to an issue, we have to be willing to look beyond where we've looked already. And as Andrew Behrens mentioned, soccer is a growth sport, and among others, but it does take a fair bit of space. And we are colliding with agricultural needs and residential and industrial development needs in terms of water and stormwater, but up against that, and it's truly impacted the ability of this, the functioning of this park. But hopefully that's something worth considering. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. And I'll build to the space issue. Certainly I've been approached again in the last week and a half by a group in North Perth that wishes to establish a cricket pitch as well. And so there's increasing demands for large spaces, and maybe, in fact, as we look at this, maybe the Wallace Park will become the cricket pitch. Hard to know, but anyway, I'm no expert. Councillor Johnston, I think I'm going to give you the last word here before we...
Thank you. It's actually a question for Mr. Newell. If we get the snow fence up right away, how close to the top of the ditch would we put it?
We would put it approximately 5 feet from the edge. We've got some trees already planted along there, so we'd have to be mindful of that. But the snow fence we would put so that if someone were to hit it, it would fall over and not fall directly into it. So it'd be about 5 foot distance from the bank.
So if we get the temporary snow fence up and we open the park and a baseball or a soccer ball goes in the ditch, it's going to be tough to get it out. Dumb idea. But can we leave some, like in golf, you have your ball retrievers. When I hit the ball into the water quite often, you have a ball retriever. Could we, it's almost like a pool skimmer with a net on the end that we could fish the balls out of there without someone having to climb down there. We could supply several of those to be left there that would be much safer, and we'd have to make them big enough to fit a soccer ball in or small enough for a baseball. But it would just be slightly safer than having a 10 or 12-year-old clamber down those stones and get wet.
Yeah, and it is a good idea. It was, you're the third person to tell me that, so I think that's a great idea.
And we do have metal manufactories in North Perth that probably would be quite willing to do this as a gift to the community, should we wish to go there. All right, colleagues, the resolution that you saw in your package includes both the temporary issues and also installing a permanent 4-foot chain link fence in that space. Do you want to consider both of those items, or would you rather delete out the permanent 4-foot high chain link fence at this point? What is your preference? Councillor Nordum?
Thanks, Mayor Kaseberg. Could we maybe give it to staff discretion on the type of fence? I'm just kind of curious what council's thinking about that, but I think staff might have a better idea on what style of fence compared to maybe a chain link fence.
Okay, Councillor Blazek?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I am sort of feeling the same way as Councillor Nordum. I'm wondering if we can revise the resolution so that it's not specific to the 4-foot chain link fence, but gives staff the opportunity to explore other fencing options, whether they bring that back to us or we're leaving it to their discretion. I'm just not sure that a 4-foot chain link is the best option.
Okay, does council wish to see a staff report on the proposed more permanent solution before we give consent to this, or do you want to leave this in staff's hands and they can execute as they see fit? Anyone? Councillor Nordum?
Is this working? Oh, there we go. Right now, I'm fine with just leaving to staff discretion, but maybe other councillors have other opinions on that, but that's kind of where I'm at this point. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I find myself apprehensive actually about 4 feet. That's not that high. And children can climb that reasonably easily. So if that's where we're going, I think more attention to that detail would be required. All right, let me see if I can revise this on the fly here. The Council of Municipality of North Perth directs staff to install the temporary snow fence, signage, and ball diamond netting at Wallace Optimist Park for the remainder of this season. And direct staff to use best practices to implement permanent fencing in Wallace Optimist Park. In the fall, I assume we're talking about that there's a cascade here after the season is due. Okay, Councillor Andreessen, do you have something to revise here?
Well, I would like to add and direct staff to look at long-term solutions to
Okay, so that's an and
this
further
problem.
and further. Why don't we separate these resolutions just so that we're not mixing things up? I think that's probably a cleaner approach to handling this legislative business. Mr. Romani.
Through you, Mayor Kasenberg, with respect to the fencing option and giving staff the latitude, right now the report as it's written gives the estimated cost is $51,000, and if we're going to be exploring other options, right now we're in the confines of the $51,000, which speaks to a 4-foot chain link fence. So if we're to explore other options, our authority as staff is limited given that this is an unbudgeted expenditure. So that's something for you to just consider as part of your resolution.
Okay. Do you want to give a ceiling, or do you want them to come back to council to approve the expense? That's the question. Councillor Richardson, let's go to you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I think it would be okay to come back with a different proposal that we all know that the number is 51 right now, to know if it's going to be a significant higher amount than that with possibly a different alternative of fence or whatever. So I'd be okay with having that number come back once we get, biggest thing is to get the temporary snow fence up right now. And then we can come back with numbers because we're all going to know that the 51 was the benchmark that was put forward in this report. Thanks.
Okay, so let's see if I've got where this is going. Directs staff to bring forward an improved permanent option based on best practices to implement fencing in Wallace Optimist Park. We'll see it. We'll find out what it is, and we'll find out what the cost is if we do that, right? Does that seem okay? Anyone strenuously object? I'm not seeing it. All right, so has the clerk kept up with my editorial revisions? I would call it wizardry, but some nights it's not.
Through the mayor, I'm just going to reread it, what we have, just to confirm.
Sure.
Read the wording here. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to install temporary snow fence, signage, and ball diamond netting at Wallace Optimist Park for the remainder of this season, and that staff be directed to bring forward an improved permanent option to implement fencing at Wallace Optimist Park.
Sure. I had based on best practices, but that's fine. Okay. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Nordum, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Johnston. That's great. Further discussion or debate? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. I'm just wondering if if council would be willing to add that staff be encouraged to have conversation with the Wallace Soccer regarding the type of fencing. Just for information. That's,
could we argue that based on best practices means consulting the user group? It's a liberal interpretation.
I understand, Mayor Todd. I'm just heard comments that the Wallace Optimist or Wallace Soccer didn't was not consulted earlier. So I just want to have the opportunity to at least have a discussion so that they're aware of the type of fencing being considered. That's all. Thank you.
Why don't we leave that with staff, if you don't mind? We've got the resolution on the floor. Let's not go through an amendment process. But staff, here's the message of council, I think. I think most of us would agree that the user groups should be consulted as you move towards bringing forward a recommendation for appropriate permanent fencing. Anyone else wishing to comment on this one? All right, you ready for a vote? Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Now, Councillor Andreessen, do you wish to take a next step?
Yes, so I would like to, I guess, are we going to make a resolution or do we direct staff?
You can. I mean, a resolution includes directing staff.
Okay. So in this resolution, I'd like to direct staff to research opportunities to relocate the Wallace Optimist Park to another location that would meet the needs of our residents, and to do that through the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandy.
Just checking with the clerks, watching Sarah's face, make sure that she's comfortable. Got it?
And I'll
Okay.
make that motion.
All right, moved by Councillor Andreessen. I'm going to ask, let's have a seconder. If everyone understands what Councillor Andreessen intends, then can I call for a seconder? Okay, question from Councillor Blazek before we have a seconder.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Keisenberg. So is the intention of this resolution to completely rule out the idea of ever covering the existing drain, or are we looking at like this resolution as a investigate other options, but still keep this on the table for the future, so that we see like the sort of the cost or the feasibility of both options?
I don't think this is restricting action on the part of the corporation in the future to deciding that it could cover the drain. I don't think this is restrictive. Would you say from what you heard, Ms. Little, that this sounded restrictive?
In response to you, Mayor, and through you to Councillor Blazek, I wouldn't see this option in terms of pursuing a more permanent option would exclude the consideration of filling the existing, because that may be one of the options, is that the cost to develop a brand new park or to relocate it, and recognizing that you want to make sure that you've got all the options to consider. I wouldn't see this particular recommendation precluding us from considering that as an option, and we can bring that back to council for consideration.
Thank you. That was my take. Yeah. Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Andreessen, seconded by, who wishes to second this? Councillor Richardson, thank you. All right, any further discussion or debate? Councillor Rothwell?
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. I understand Councillor Andreessen's point. I am concerned about the word relocation of the park does restrict what the view is in terms of this park and as to whether or not it's going to fulfill part or any of the requirements for soccer and baseball going forward. So I'm not really in support of saying a total relocation of a park means you abandon or leave behind is what is in my mind. I am not necessarily in favor of that. If there is a need for some additional park, then I'm certainly in favor. But I would not be in favor of the word relocation. In my mind, that means you're leaving this park behind. Thank you.
I'm going to inquire of the clerk. Can you read back the resolution? Because maybe we need to tweak the wording a touch.
Through the mayor, we have it currently worded as the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to research opportunities to relocate the Wallace Optimus Park to another location that will meet the needs of North Perth residents through the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. If I may offer a suggestion, we could reword it to something like the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to research options regarding the future use of Wallace Optimus Park, including the possible relocation through the updated Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Okay.
I would accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, so we got it. Thank you for helping us work through the words. I figured that there was a word finessing that probably was needed there. All right, everyone understand what we have on the table? Okay, any further discussion or debate? Councillor Nordum.
Thanks, Mayor Keisenberg. I agree with Councillor Rothwell at this point. I'm still not liking the relocation of Wallace Optimist Park. It's played many soccer games there and still do, so it has a little bit of a special place in my heart. So at this point, I'll just vote against this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, I think we're ready for the vote. We've got the corrected wording in the interface, so if you can trigger the vote, let's have it. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, we are at 8:30. We don't have, I'm not sure, I should look at Ms. Marks. How long is your presentation going to be? Do we need a watering break at this point? 10 minutes. Maybe we should take a short break for 5 minutes, just a little health break. So we will resume at 8:35. Okay, Jim, we're starting. All right. Next up, we have a report from the Corporate Services Department as item 9.2 on our agenda. In item 9.2.1, staff bring forward a review of our asset management program. I call on Asset Management Coordinator Leanne Marks to provide this update. Welcome, Ms. Marks.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present North Perth's 2026 Asset Management Program Review. As required under Ontario Regulation 588-17, this annual review reports on the progress made in 2025 after implementing the North Perth Asset Management Plan approved by Council on June 9th of last year. It also highlights our key investments, the current state of our infrastructure, and the priorities ahead. This slide shows North Perth's asset management journey and key milestones under OREG 588-17, along with a photo of Mitchell Road South Storm Drain Project, which was one of our significant infrastructure investments from 2025 that I'll speak to shortly. So subsequent to adopting the asset management plan last June, there are a few key accomplishments. First, we established the Internal Asset Management Working Group. This cross-departmental team brings together staff from across the organization to ensure we're approaching asset management collaboratively and not in our own silos. Second, we began to integrate the 2025 Asset Management Plan and its supporting data into the 2026 budget process. Asset management considerations were included in the capital project scoring criteria, helping to ensure that budget decisions were informed by asset condition data as well as life cycle analysis rather than relying primarily on historical spending trends. Third, we continued improving our data quality and consistency, as well as we completed our stormwater rate study, which gave us a more accurate understanding of our stormwater assets and the replacement costs associated with those. Finally, I want to acknowledge Council's continued commitment to the infrastructure levy. This dedicated funding stream is essential to closing the gap between what we're spending and what our infrastructure actually needs. So major 2025 investments included in facilities and recreation, the MAP 59 Park in Listowel, and the Ward Park in Gownstown open to the public. We completed upgrades at the Atwood Pool, the Wallace Community Center, as well as new backstops at the Kin Park Ball Diamonds. For roads and bridges, we completed the full reconstruction of Line 88 and completion of the Line 75 culvert. We also completed stormwater system upgrades on Mitchell Road South and completed Phase 1 of the Northeast Master Plan on Walton Ave North, which is a multi-year project supporting the future growth in that area. For fleet, we acquired 5 pieces of equipment, including a new payloader for the landfill, helping to maintain service reliability and efficiency. Looking ahead to 2026, Phase 2 of the Northeast Master Plan will continue with new water and sewer infrastructure in the Fairlane Road area to support planned growth. Other major 2026 projects include conduit repairs in Listowel, the Kin Trail Bridge replacement, the Elizabeth Street East Bridge rehabilitation, Line 84 asphalt resurfacing, and the addition of a new sweeper, plow truck, and grader to our fleet. So the capital replacement cost summary provides a high-level comparison of our asset replacement costs from 2025 to 2026. In 2025, approximately $6.2 million was spent on capital assets. Of that $6.2, it included about $3.5 million in net new assets, such as the Eastdale Child Care Center and the Mitchell Road South storm drain. Our total replacement cost increased from approximately $950 million to just over $1 billion, largely due to inflation and improved data quality. We'll continue to update these values annually to ensure our replacement costs remain current and reflect the best available information. The most significant increase was in the stormwater infrastructure, which rose from $38 million to $60 million following our stormwater rate study and the improved data accuracy that came from that study. Roads remain our largest asset category at $443 million, followed by bridges at $128 million. The key takeaway is that North Perth is responsible for more than $1 billion worth of infrastructure and assets, and that value will continue to grow as costs rise and our data becomes more complete. So the levels of service highlights how well our assets are performing against the standards we've set. Overall, we're meeting or exceeding our targets in several areas. The road condition improved slightly, facilities remain in good condition, sidewalks are stable, and playground performance has improved. The main area of concern is bridges and culverts, where bridge condition index declined from 69 to 65. While still acceptable and on target, it reinforces the need for continual investment, which includes the Elizabeth Street East project, bridge rehabilitation, and the Kin Trail Bridge replacement plan for 2026. Just to also make note is levels of service can be measured in different ways. If you see the roads, it's based on the pavement condition index as well as the bridges. The facilities, that's not saying that our facility condition index, everything's at 100%. That's saying, as per our latest facility study, that 100% of our assets are considered in good or very good condition. And then the playgrounds is a numerical. So our our proposed level of service is to get to 18 parks. And between 2025 and 2026, we went from 12 to 13. So just to make note that it's not all based on condition when you measure your levels of service. As our program matures, we expect to take a deeper look at the levels of service. There's important balance between reinvesting in assets and ensuring the municipality can collectively continue delivering services at the levels that have been established. So closing the infrastructure gap. This slide shows the infrastructure funding gap as of today, which is the difference between what we are currently spending and what we need to spend each year to maintain our proposed levels of service. This gap is based on the current proposed levels of service and the replacement costs that are in the system today. If the municipality chooses a target higher levels of service, the gap would increase. For example, the current proposed road level of service is a PCI of 65. If council chose to change the target to 75 instead, additional investment would be required to achieve and maintain that higher standard. So just to note, this is as of today. It's always changing, always growing. With a 2% annual tax levy increase plus inflation and continued OCIF funding, annual capital funding could reach approximately $19 million by 2034, as depicted in the graph. One important caution is that OCIF funding levels are not guaranteed to be the same beyond 2026, and the replacement costs may continue to rise as inflation persists and our data becomes more accurate over time. Key takeaway to this is that the infrastructure levy that Council has committed to is the single most impactful tool we have for addressing this gap in a sustainable and predictable way. So beyond the physical investments, we've also been strengthening our asset management practices by contributing to the 2026 budget process and planning for a deeper role in the 2027 to better align capital planning with the asset data. Our goal is to hold capital project meetings with departments to confirm that planned projects align with the asset management plan. Where they do not, we can either update the data to make it more accurate or document the rationale for the difference. This will help improve alignment between asset management planning and the capital budget. We also develop standardized naming policies to improve data organization, consistency, and analysis across departments. Challenges do remain. Funding pressures continue to force difficult choices, and improving data quality is an ongoing effort. We're also managing aging infrastructure across multiple asset classes, along with fleet needs that require a more tailored approach than the fixed infrastructure assets. Looking forward, our priorities fall into 3 categories: strengthening, invest, and collaborate. We'll continue to strengthen our tools and practices, including risk analysis, better asset profiles, and exploring how artificial intelligence may support decision-making. We'll make informed investments that balance service levels, risk, and affordability. We can't replace everything at once, so we need to be strategic about where we direct our resources for the greatest impact. And we will continue to work collaboratively across departments and with council, because asset management depends on an organization-wide support and coordination. So our commitment is simple, is to use the good information we have to make smart decisions that keep our infrastructure reliable and our finances sustainable for the long term. It's more than a slogan. It's how we approach asset decisions with evidence, sound judgment, and a long-term view. Thank you, Mayor and members of Council, for your time and your continued support of our asset management program here in North Perth. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. Could you, there was a slide where you showed condition assessments of the different types of assets. Could you go back to that for a moment?
This one?
Thank you. Have you done any modeling over the next 5 to 10 years about what will happen to the numbers that are in that table against our asset management planning?
So this is the chart on the left is our level of service. If we did nothing, our program, we haven't done it yet, but that is our goal moving forward, is to get those in-depth reports to say if we did nothing, what's going to go wrong first? Or if we have so much funding, where should we be spending it to enhance, to make sure we stay within those levels of service? Because those are the decisions that are going to be tricky in the future.
You showed a chart that indicated the impact of the 2% dedicated tax levy increase, and showed how it builds. The amber boxes on the graph represent the change. But it's interesting because there's a target level right at the top there that obviously we're in deficit against for the next 8 years, if I'm following the math here. And if you're in deficit, then are you going to see a decline in the positivity of the indicators that you showed on the other slide? That's my question, is how do you match this scenario up against the indicators of quality and performance against our asset mix?
The asset management plan, so this graph does come from that, and that was taken into account when the plan was made. So we have to note too that we are not making, our funding is not making all of our assets in very good condition. We have left the level of service at the 65 or medium to allow for this funding. And so those are the types of decisions, as I said, that are going to need to be made in the near future.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm totally comfortable yet, but
Okay.
I'll let my colleagues pick up with their questions.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. This is very helpful for us as a council to look at the data on an ongoing basis and make decisions accordingly. The one slide talked about 65% of, can we go to that slide? That one, thanks.
Yeah.
So our level of, our target at the moment is around 65. Does that make sense, Ms. Marks?
For the roads, yes.
Okay.
And the bridges are 65. And then, as I said, for the other ones, they're not necessarily based on condition. Some are based on numerical.
Okay. So how are we in line with other municipalities? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I did do some research comparative to other municipalities around. Now, for condition data, I didn't look at that, but for our infrastructure levy of what is being compared to in the asset management plan, we are leaders in that way. Some have large increases that aren't financially feasible at the time, so they chose lower ones. Some chose none at all. So I did do a comparator to recent municipalities, and we are leaders in that way.
I guess ideally we want to be at 100%, right? But
Correct. And
too hard.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kaseberg, and thank you for the presentation. So the downtown reconstruction, major construction in 2030, is this taken into consideration?
Correct. That is on the plan. Another exercise that I'm currently working on with our manager of infrastructure or director of infrastructure is taking all of our asset data, and it can pull into a 10-year plan, and then taking what we have in our staff budget in the 10-year plan and cross-referencing to make sure that we're matching and making sure that nothing in our asset is not being captured in the staff plan, as well as we're putting parameters in to look at the condition, but roads are a bit different when it comes to reconstruction, is looking at a road could be in declining state. So if it's in declining, what does the pipes underneath that road look like as well? So if it's under 50%, for instance, now let's look at what are the pipes under there look like. That could be the telltale whether we do a rehab or it's a full reconstruction.
I think Councillor Duncan is next, then Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, through you, Mayor. Leanne, what percentage of this chart is the OCIF funding?
In this chart?
Yeah. What does that represent?
I'm going to maybe throw this back to Ashton. Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, through your Mayor Kaseberg to Councillor Duncan. The current OCIF funding is around $1 million, so it would be just under 10% if we're looking at our current funding levels of just over $12 million.
So a fairly large, substantial amount.
Correct.
So I think it's very important as a council that we continue to lobby the provincial government to continue with OCIF funding and not lose that, because we definitely need that money. We could even use more.
And he stole my thunder. That is exactly what I was going to say, is that wheelbarrows of cash, yes, Deputy Mayor Kellum's been paying attention to my interactions in the public domain. Apparently, we did talk about OCIF at the Perth Municipal Day that we had in Queen's Park, and emphasized the importance of it being stable, right? Like, we live, sorry, I'm ranting a little bit. We live in weird times where chaotic or instability is actually a bigger problem than amount in some cases. And so we want to be sure that OCIF funding is stable, and if anything, when you look at the long history of OMPF, the other fund that the province generously gives us, there's a challenge there too, right? And so, you know, to that point, I mean, 10% doesn't look like a huge amount, but try recouping that $1 million from the taxpayers of North Perth, and now you're asking for a whole new level of property tax pain, and a level that none of us really want to face at this point. As it is, I think we've been brave and conscientious in applying a 2% per year increase on top of whatever else the elevated operating costs will be, right? So our taxpayers need to understand and know that you know, they're going to face increases generally above inflation over the next several years. But part of that is because we're conscientious about the issues of our infrastructure and trying to get to a reasonable place. I can assure you, as Ms. Marks did, that many of our colleague municipalities are doing nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing. And that's disturbing. And essentially what they're doing is trying to avoid the taxpayer. All right, Councillor Rothwell, you're next.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Thank you, Leanne, for your report. I'll just continue on the OCIF issue. I certainly agree with Councillor Duncan and Mayor Kiesenberg on this point. I will say, though, we are not alone in terms of requesting continued stable funding of OCIF and other provincial and federal, because the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is lobbying federally for continued infrastructure programs. AMO and Roma likewise are lobbying the provincial government for stable, predictable funding, as per your report, continuing on the OCIF. We have talked and made resolutions from this council, and we'll continue to do so. And frankly, if the province of Ontario and the federal government want to come and make announcements every year, they can do so. We would be quite happy to have them come. But we, like every other municipality in this province, and frankly, it's across Canada, are asking for stable, predictable funding, because we cannot carry on the $1 billion worth and growing amount of infrastructure solely on the basis of our assessment only. It was never intended to do everything. So we do need help. We need that stable, predictable funding, and we are very thankful when the federal and provincial government come forward, but we would really like to have them walk alongside us every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions, comments on this report? Shall we consider the resolution? It is as follows, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the 2026 Asset Management Program Review for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Callum, seconded by Councillor Rothwell. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Ms. Marks, thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you back. I know it's
Happy
been
to
a
be
little
back.
while, but we're glad to have you back, and we're certainly glad that you're our steward, our lead steward in this program.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn next. I guess there's another item here in corporate services, item 9.2.2. The clerk is bringing forward a report that proposes the introduction of an updated bylaw addressing delegation of authority of council to staff. This has been work supervised by council's governance review committee, and I'll call on our clerk, Lindsay Klein, to present this to council. Welcome as always, Ms. Klein. We can't meet without you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to members of council. Before you this evening is our draft delegation of authority bylaw, which is being presented for council's initial review before a final version is brought forward for consideration at a subsequent meeting. And I would like to firstly extend thanks to Deputy Clerk Sarah Carter, as well as our senior management team and the Governance Review Committee for their contributions and input throughout the development of this bylaw. Under the Municipal Act, council may delegate certain administrative and legislative powers and duties to staff, subject to the restrictions set out in the legislation. Currently, the municipality's delegated authorities exist through a combination of individual bylaws, policies, and council resolutions. Over time, this has resulted in a framework that is dispersed among multiple documents, which can create potential inconsistencies and administrative inefficiencies. The intent of the draft bylaw is to consolidate these authorities into a single comprehensive document to improve consistency, transparency, and ease of administration for both staff and council. Delegation of authority bylaws are widely used across municipalities as a governance best practice to clearly define administrative authority and support efficient municipal operations. The proposed bylaw establishes a structured framework that identifies the delegated authorities, the positions to which authority is delegated, the applicable legislative basis, and any relevant conditions, restrictions, financial thresholds, or reporting requirements. Importantly, the bylaw confirms that delegated legislative powers are of a minor nature, consistent with the requirements of the Act. It also confirms that council retains the authority to revoke or reconsider any delegation at any time, and that any authority not specifically delegated remains with council. Key delegations addressed in the bylaw include matters related to agreements and procurement within approved budgets, grant and funding applications, lottery licensing, fire and emergency service administration, certain special event and road closure approvals, and other operational approvals related to municipal services and facilities. The draft bylaw was reviewed by the Governance Review Committee at their meeting on March 9th, and minor revisions were made following that discussion. Those revisions included consideration of how certain delegated actions should continue to be communicated to Council. Staff are also exploring administrative processes, including the use of Municipal 511 notifications to support Council awareness of items such as road closures for special events. Overall, this bylaw is intended to function as a living document and will be reviewed and updated periodically as operational requirements, municipal practices, or legislative frameworks evolve. Through this report, staff are seeking Council's feedback and direction on the draft bylaw, and following tonight's discussion, a final version will be brought forward to a future meeting. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions or first comments? I'm not seeing any. Councillor Duncan?
Through you, Mayor, I'd just like to thank staff and the governance committee for all the hard work. Looks like there was a lot of time went into creation of this bylaw. So when I just sat down and read through it, I thought, wow, there's a lot of hours in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Net changes versus previous?
I would say predominantly the majority of the delegations in the bylaw have been previously delegated to staff through other measures like previous resolutions and things like that. There are a few newer ones, like things you might not see on council agendas anymore, like road closure requests for special events, like say a road race or food truck permits on municipal property, things like that. But those are of minor in nature.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or first comments? All right, I have a resolution then as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a draft delegation of authority bylaw for review and provides any feedback or direction to staff. There might not be any. And that the staff be directed to bring forward a final delegation of authority bylaw for consideration at a subsequent meeting. So colleagues, before I call for a mover and seconder, do we have any directions to staff that we wish to be considered at this point? I'm not seeing any of that. So the resolution stands largely as it was intact. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Klein, Ms. Carter. And to the Governance Review Committee, you have been on a tear, and we appreciate your help. Let's move on to item 10 on our agenda. Does any member of council wish to request a report from staff or from one of our committees? I'm not seeing it. For item 11, we have 2 items of correspondence beyond those shared in the consent agenda for council's disposition. As item 11.1, we have received a request that we provide consent for the use of the municipal parking lot on Main Street East in Listowel, adjacent to the Character Square Parkette, for the purposes of a farm and maker market on a periodic schedule. Is there any objection to considering this resolution? Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, thank you. I just have a question, if I could have an opportunity to ask that. Through you, Mayor Kiesenberg, my question is just around, do we have policy around the rental of municipal lands, like a parking lot, to a charity versus a business for ongoing usage?
Okay. Ms. Little, Ms. Klein.
Through the mayor to Councillor Andreessen, to my knowledge, we don't currently charge any fees for the use of a parking lot per se for a special event.
Regardless of whether it's a not-for-profit organization or a for-profit organization? Okay, thank you. Councillor Andreessen, anything further?
Well, it's just my comment is that this is a business using our parking lot for their business, free of charge. So just something to think about.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? I have the resolution as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the Listowel Farm and Maker Market to close a portion of the municipal parking lot at 169 Main Street East as outlined in the request letter from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every other Saturday from May 30th to October 3rd, 2026, and that North Perth Public Works, Fire, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised of these events. I call for a mover. Moved by Councillor Noordum, seconded by Councillor Plazik. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, for item 11.2, we have received a request that we provide consent for permitting food trucks at the planned Hayloft Music Festival in August. Is there objection to considering this one? Anyone? All right, I have a resolution then as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the Hayloft Music Festival to permit 12 food truck vendors to operate at the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex on Saturday, August 1st and Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. And a yummy time will be had by all. Okay, let us move to consideration next of bylaws that we have had recommended to us tonight for our consideration. There are two of them for our review. The enabling resolution outlines for each bylaw their number and purpose. Before I read the resolution for passing these bylaws, does any councillor wish to extract one or the other or each for a more fulsome consideration or an individual or recorded vote? No extractions, so here's the enabling resolution. That the following bylaws are hereby passed. 40-2026 being a bylaw to prohibit kite fighting on private and public property, and 41-2026 being a bylaw to execute the application for approval to expropriate land at 925 Wallace Avenue North in Listowel. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Noordum, seconded by Councillor Johnston. I saw that head nod, by the way. Discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 13 on our agenda. Does any councillor wish leave to give notice of motion for our next meeting? Not seeing that. Item 14, are there any announcements that would be a benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? Anyone have a report on Rib Fest? Councillor Andreessen, maybe you have some familiarity?
Yeah, certainly. I helped volunteer at the Rib Fest this weekend, and it was a learning opportunity for the Listowel Agricultural Society to host that event. We're really pleased with the turnout. We were getting great comments from our community who loved it and really appreciated the opportunity to have that event here. And we're looking forward to hosting it again. So we've already booked the dates for the last weekend of May in 2027. There will be some changes in setup, but we did some learning and just hope for better weather next year.
It certainly was unfortunate weather. All right, we'll issue a bylaw. We'll fix that. All right. Let's turn to agenda item number 15. I'm asked all the time, by the way, colleagues. We have no matters for consideration in a closed session meeting of council. That means that for item 16, we have nothing to report. And that brings us to 17. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. I have the enabling resolution for same as follows: that bylaw 42-2026, being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, is hereby passed. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Duncan records a manual in favor vote, and that brings us to 10. That matter is carried. Thank you. And that brings us to the happy moment of adjournment for consideration. We have completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that was before us tonight. It is appropriate then to consider adjournment as follows. The council meeting adjourns at 9:11 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, June 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Nordum, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Andreessen. It's not debatable. Let's have that vote. Councillor Nordum wants to stay in the meeting, maybe, I don't know. Okay. And Councillor Duncan records a manual in favor vote, recognized. Do we have everybody? We have everybody. Colleagues, that is carried. Our next meeting of council is Monday, June 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Until that